way in.
Our landscape is dramatically changing right before our very eyes, and it's because of these massive machines.
We move about 90,000 tons our shift with it.
In this day and age, when high tech is making most machines smaller, why are these machines getting bigger and bigger?
You actually do get to feel like you are the machine. When you're really in the rhythm and really moving, it feels pretty good.
How big can they get? And are they actually too much of a good thing?
If the airline industry had the same safety record as the crane industry did, there wouldn't be no airplanes flying today.
MSNBC investigates heavy metal, the big rigs.
Reporting now, Lester Holt.
A phone, a camera, even a pocket computer. The technology gets smaller and smaller. It's also getting bigger. In the next hour, we'll examine some of the largest pieces of equipment on the planet. Trucks the size of houses and machines that dig, drill, thresh more materials at faster rates than anything in history. Of course, some say there's a downside. These machines can clear-cut the forests, strip mine the land, and pollute the air. They can even put people out of work. Still, we remain in awe as they change and build our world before our eyes. They are heavy metal, the big rigs.
Deep in this vast copper mine at Morenci, Arizona, a growing fleet of trucks haul some 800,000 tons of rock each day. Many of these monster trucks can haul up to 170 tons with each load. Impressive by any standard. But in 1999, a new rig entered the fleet. Caterpillar 797, the largest truck ever built. The 797 is 30 feet wide and 23 feet high, basically a two-story house on 6 wheels. At peak capacity, it weighs more than double that of a fully loaded jumbo jet at takeoff. The 797 can reach speeds up to 40 miles an hour, thanks to not one, but 2 inline V12 diesel engines. Together, they use 70 gallons of gas an hour.
One engine is not available in the marketplace today that will give you the weight to horsepower ratio that you need there. So they had to go back to the drawing board, put this engine together, and that gave us the weight to horsepower ratio that we needed.
Coupling 2 engines solved the power problem, but designers soon recognized there were no tires big enough to fit their giant 797. Engineers responded with 13-foot tires specially manufactured in Spain, but they didn't come cheap. Each tire cost $26,000, and while they have stood up well to the 270-ton loads, blowouts are not uncommon.
If one of those happens to fail, there's so much volume in there, it's not pressure, but air volume in there, it's like several sticks of dynamite going off.
Loud noises, however, aren't usually a hazard for the men and women who drive the giant 797.
The sound level in the 797 cab with the doors closed and the windows rolled up in normal operating mode is 72 decibels. Now that is about the same as a Cadillac Seville.
The 797s being tested at the Morenci copper mine will cost about $3.5 million each. But the high price tag, according to the mine's management, may well be a good deal.
It all boils down to what it costs us to move a ton of rock. The bigger the box, the more tons we can move with the relatively same amount of energy.
Giant moving boxes like the 797 also get an efficiency boost from outer space. Global Positioning Systems, or GPS, use computers and satellite communications to guide the trucks across miles of mining area, directing drivers to the right loads and stockpiles. While the 797 has no peers among trucks, it isn't the biggest rig at this or any mine site.
This is our newest dipper Phelps Dodge just purchased. It's a 62-yard dipper. It'll hold about 100 tons, 110 tons, a good material, a full dipper. And we move about 90,000 tons in a 24-hour shift with it.
Like pilots before takeoff, shovel operators check their equipment at the start of each shift.
The tracks will separate and you got a chance of them busting.
Satisfied, the operator climbs into a pneumatic hoist, which carries him to the base of his rig. The entire rig is powered by 4,200 volts of electricity, enough to light up a small town.
I've ran locomotives out in the mines. I did that for about 10 years. I drove trucks for about 10 years. And there's just no feeling like operating a shovel. Pretty awesome. The dipper should be kind of an extension of your own hand, reaching out in there and grabbing a bunch of muck.
The all-steel dipper is an extremely powerful hand. 9 massive claws or teeth dig into the rock and dirt, each burning white hot from the immense friction. But as raw and rugged as the digging appears, it's guided by technology worthy of NASA. Computer monitors mounted in front of the operator use color-coded images beamed directly from satellites to pinpoint the areas that have the most copper ore. Not a motion wasted, not an ounce of copper overlooked. The sounds of 100 tons of rock crashing into the waiting box of a giant truck is a reminder of just how much earth is being moved.
The first thing you have to always remember is there's a human being in that truck you're loading, so you have to be extremely cautious, but it is somewhat of a powerful feeling because you actually do get to feel like you are the machine. And you're really in the rhythm and really moving. You can flat load the trucks and it feels pretty good.
When we come back, the two sides of the big rigs. After the earth is ripped open, the giant machine that puts it back.
They take the clay that's on the surface and the sand underneath, and as it digs it, it churns it together and mixes it up, just like you would in a garden at home. This is a rather large rototiller.
Price check on register 4.
What would you cut? The trauma unit that saved a father's life? Or children's rehab that helps Molly walk?
Poison control.
Or poison control that's always there?
She's only 2.
Today, many hospitals are eliminating critical services because Congress and the White House cut funding to hospitals to help balance the federal budget. But now we have a record budget surplus.
What should I tell my patients when the care they need just isn't there?
Tell Washington to restore funding to our hospitals.
What gives broadband broader impact? Texas Instruments programmable DSP. Technology that allows companies to provide internet access 100 times faster. The hardware and software behind wireless home networks. A digital fountain of youth that you can simply reprogram instead of retool and replace. From the world leader in DSP and analog, Texas Instruments.
Compare on education. Rick Lazio wants teacher competency testing. Hillary Clinton opposes it. Lazio wants 95% of education money in the classroom. Clinton opposes that. Lazio supported more funding and more local control. Clinton opposes more local control. Rick Lazio sends his children to public school, yet Clinton runs ads about his education position that are just not true. Lazio, for education. Clinton, You just can't trust her.
My friends love it. Everybody looks at the car when I'm driving in it. I like the attention. It's great. One of the first things I noticed was how quiet it is. Just a very smooth, comfortable ride. The stereo system was fabulous. I feel safe in it. Lock my keys in my car. They have roadside assistance. I don't have to worry about my car because I'm covered under the 10-year warranty. The Hyundai Accent gives me lots of freedom. It's definitely the car for me.
Get as low as 3.5% APR financing on the Accent at your Hyundai dealer now.
His bad boy image landed him die-hard roles. What turned this tough guy into a sensitive character? A look into his high-profile marriage and his most rewarding role, Dad. The life lessons that helped shape Bruce Willis on Headliners and Legends. Tomorrow at 10 on MSNBC.
Environmentalists and others worry about the growing damage strip mining machinery can leave behind. But sometimes those fears can be smoothed over by even more remarkable rigs. Mining engineers, for example, have created a pair of awe-inspiring big rigs that are turning strip mines back into pristine meadows.
Seven years ago, that pasture land looked something like this. But with the help of modern machine magic, those mountains of dirt can save the day, or the land, as it were. The mountains, known as overburden, have been stockpiled 24 hours a day by one of the biggest rigs ever created, and the first of its kind in the United States, the cross pit spreader system. The cross pit spreader towers nearly 20 stories above the ground. As its name implies, the cross pit spreader uses a 1,000-foot boom to cross the open pit before spreading nearly 1,500 feet of dirt per minute on high-speed belts. The dirt is loaded onto the spreader by these two bucket wheel excavators. Each machine transfers the equivalent of 3 football fields of dirt to the spreader every minute. Tom Shaw oversees operations at the Big Brown Mine.
There is an operator and oiler up on this cross pit spreader. The operator's cab's about 110 feet in the air. He has to ride an elevator to get up there to work.
Operators control all the conveyor belts and crawlers. Video cameras help him monitor the discharge booms from the bucket wheel excavators. This massive rig moves an average of 270 million yards of dirt a year, more than was excavated to create the Panama Canal.
Bucket wheel excavators, when they're digging the material, they take the clay that's on the surface and the sand underneath, and as it digs it, it churns it together and mixes it up, just like you would in a garden at home. This is a rather large rototiller.
Like a skilled gardener, the cross pit spreader system is able to mix the dirt in a way that can make more fertile soil. But even more dirt is added to the mix by another rig that digs even deeper, the drag line. Electric-powered drag lines like this work the pit, digging away dirt to expose seams of coal. This 5 million pound machine has few equals in terms of sheer power.
When I first started doing it, it kind of overwhelmed me. You know, if you really get sitting and thinking about what you're doing, that bucket right there can dig you a swimming pool in one pass. It moves a lot of dirt.
Fully loaded, these huge buckets weigh 320,000 pounds, the equivalent of about 50 Chevy Suburbans. Operating them, however, requires a light touch.
There's 4 levers that operates this whole thing. This lever here is a drag lever, and it makes the bucket come into you and go out. This one's a hoist. It makes it go up and down. And then down here at my feet, I've got the swing pedals, and that makes it swing.
By the end of the day, the dragline's bucket can expect to have removed over 50,000 cubic yards of overburden from the deepest area of the pit, enough to fill some 250 backyard swimming pools. While the primary job of these massive machines is to uncover and extract coal, in the end, they can repair the damage that might have otherwise been left behind. Coming up next on Heavy Metal, the big rigs, the lumberjacks of the future, how these machines have changed the logging industry.
First, I'm gonna go to my club and you can go to yours. And when I'm done playing, I'll call you and we can swim in Mickey's pool.
Oh, are you the cruise director?
Now, I have some plans later, so you'll be on your own. And do you mind having dinner alone tonight? After that, we can all see the show together.
On a magical Disney Cruise Line vacation, you're the director of your dreams.
Hey, aren't you glad I thought of this?
Call and discover uncharted magic.
Yeah.
Avaya, communication without boundaries.
Your tools and your toys, all in one carry-on. The new Vio SR.
Enjoy all the comforts of home before you get there. The Acura TL.
Is your internet slowing you down? Get Telocity High Velocity Internet and push the play button on life.
You ain't seen nothing yet. Here's something that you're never gonna forget.
This is Telocity High Velocity DSL Internet Service. Experience the net like never before.
But baby, you just ain't seen nothing yet.
Sign up now and get free activation with no annual contract at Telocity.com.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Massive rigs like the dragline and the cross pit spreader move mountains of dirt as easily as gardeners scoop a handful. But deep in the hills of West Virginia, loggers and engineers have come up with another big rig that almost defies imagination. Faced with trees soaring to heights of 120 feet or more, it cuts those trees down to size. In some cases, faster than you can say, timber! The big rig is called a feller buncher. Designed by loggers, it cuts and fells a tree so fast and efficiently that logging has never been the same. Harry Vance, the owner of the Vance Logging Company, remembers what it was like cutting trees when he first started, back in the early 60s.
We took a chainsaw and went out, and an acre then would last us a week. And as of today, we'll cut 2 acres in one day. So, I mean, it's a big change.
The heart and soul of the Feller Buncher is a 60-inch hot saw that runs at 1,500 RPMs, or about 200 miles an hour. It cuts through even the thickest tree trunks.
The hot saw was just like a big weed eater. It cuts as you swing.
The hot saw cuts so quickly that the machine does not need to hold the tree in position. Instead, steel claws catch the sawed tree the instant before it falls. With the help of a skilled operator, the Feller Buncher takes the tree and carries it safely away, as if the 100-foot tree was little more than a toothpick. The Feller Buncher also possesses unusual agility for a 41,000-pound machine. It can climb with the skill of a mountaineer. And can even stand up, defying gravity, but allowing the machine to cut a tree at virtually any incline. No matter what angle the Feller Buncher climbs, the operator can manipulate his cab to keep himself level with the ground.
The tracks are moved with foot pedals. Push forward to go forward and back to go back. And the boom and the hot saw head, it works off joysticks. So each joystick does 9 different things with each hand. So you've got 18 different controls besides your feet.
Felling trees is only the first challenge of logging. Before newly felled trees can be moved, they need to be stripped of their branches. A big rig called the delimber plucks a felled tree from the ground, draws it into a knife-studded carrel, and scrapes off every branch in less than 20 seconds. Harry Vance's 23-year-old son, Harry Jr., plans to follow his father into the logging business. He's already the family expert on the delimber.
It picks the tree up and feeds it back through a hole beside the cab. And then it has approximately a 40-foot boom that's chain driven with a hydraulic motor that drives it in and out. And it has knives on the front of it. And with a mixture of the sharp knives and the power of the machine, it knocks or chops the limbs off similar to an axe.
The Vance family knows a thing or two about axes. Harry's great-grandfather, also named Harry, started chopping down trees at the turn of the century, beginning a logging tradition that has lasted 3 generations. Harry Sr., more than anyone, can appreciate how the new big rigs have changed his business.
We had a chainsaw and a truck, and you had to cut the trees down, carry them out by hand, put them on the truck, and take them to market. It was work.
Now, big rigs like these skidders have replaced bare hands and drag the felled and delimbed trees off the mountainside. Rigs called loaders swiftly cut each tree into logs. And using steel claws, separate the wood into piles. Minutes later, entire loads of oak, white oak, and cherry are ready to be trucked to lumber yards and paper mills. Some environmentalists worry that these big rigs of logging have the capacity to destroy the land. Harry thinks otherwise.
This area all regenerates itself. Mother Nature takes care of it. There's not a seedling that'll be planted out there anywhere. Within 3 years, complete ground will be covered. You won't know anybody was there other than the trees will be shorter.
Up next, the sky's the limit as the big rigs change our cities and our landscape.
You have to really like the heights, and there's a lot of swaying and motion up here.
In 1997, I was as concerned about colorectal cancer as the average American. It never crossed my mind until my husband Jay was diagnosed. 156,000 Americans get that diagnosis every year, but more than 90% of these cases can be cured if caught early.
Please join the Entertainment Industry Foundation and the Washington Post on Sunday, October 8th, as Aetna U.S. Healthcare presents the WebMD Rockin' Race to Fight Colon Cancer.
Please register today.
Thank heaven for little...
Anna is driving me crazy. Ma chérie, it can't be that bad. She won't eat. She won't nap. I'm telling you, Maman. No. It's her favorite word.
MCI lets you call Western Europe for just 9 cents a minute all weekend long. So calling family over there is like calling family over here.
You've never seen such a difficult child. Oh, yes, I have.
Call 1-800-476-SAVE to sign up now and get 1 hour of free calling to anywhere in the world.
Does everybody know what this is? A heart. 50 million Americans suffer from high blood pressure. There are no symptoms, yet high blood pressure is the primary cause of heart disease. There are still millions who are unable to lower their blood pressure with medication. That's why we're developing this new medicine, and it has excellent effectiveness in treating blood pressure. Maybe by the time these kids are my age, we'll have found a way to prevent high blood pressure in everyone.
I was an industrial designer for 35 years. And while my body may have downshifted, my mind has not. I have a lot of ideas.
Well, Ed had this idea for growing bigger tomatoes.
Getting better mileage.
Winterizing.
Waterproofing.
Catching more trout.
Now every person has a place to help develop, protect, and even sell their ideas, large and small.
You're careful about what you put in your body. Why not give your mind the same respect? Watch CNN's primetime lineup. Moneyline, Crossfire, The World Today, Larry King Live, and Newsstand. 100% pure knowledge, no junk food. CNN, you are what you know.
Brought to you by Singapore Airlines. Now more than ever, a great way to fly.
Once again, Lester Holt.
Big rigs won't let you look away. These massive metal giants are busy changing our world before our very eyes. They can be dangerous to operate. Some tear up the earth beyond recognition. One monster rig can put dozens out of work. Still, these machines can make jaws drop and grown men act like little boys getting their first toy trucks. We've shown you rigs that can dig, haul, and cut more material than at any time before. Now, we're going to show you machines that can touch the sky. Heavy metal, big rigs.
In the middle of today's construction boom, you can't walk down the street of a city without seeing a crane. They help build skyscrapers, bridges, and roads. And as our cities keep rising, so do the big rigs. Boston's downtown, like many American cities, is defined by skyscrapers. The tallest reach 50 stories or more. And rising right alongside them are some of the most awe-inspiring rigs ever created. Freestanding tower cranes like this are often the crane of choice in congested urban areas. They require less surface area on the ground, can reach higher, and are able to withstand greater wind speeds than other cranes. Tom Robertson operates a tower crane in the middle of Boston's massive construction project known as the Big Dig.
You have to really like the heights, and there's a lot of swaying and motion up here, which some people don't really like. It took me a while to get used to. I'd go home and I felt like a drunk sailor every night because I'd be swaying, you know.
His crane stands nearly 20 stories from the ground. Eventually, it will be raised to 220 feet, making it one of the tallest freestanding cranes in the country.
Just being up there is great. You're up high, nobody bothers you, and you do what you have to do.
Like a giant erector set, tower cranes are put together in sections. In this case, 13-foot sections. A hydraulic system goes under the crane and pushes it up to make room for each section. More are added as the need to raise the crane becomes necessary. The sky is the only limit. It may look simple, but that's not the same as easy. While some cranes have elevators, most provide only a series of ladders and catwalks for their operators to make their commute to work. Tom Robertson, for example, climbs 175 rungs every morning to reach his workplace, high above Boston. In addition to its almost limitless height, tower cranes can lift staggering loads that surprise even the men who operate them.
You can feel the power. This thing can pick up 114,000 pounds, and when you go to pick up something near capacity pick, you can feel the machine giving a little bit, and you can feel it getting into the load, you know, being real heavy and all. It's something you have to respect, though.
Booms have varying reaches, but all work on the principle of weight and counterweight. Engineers apply a counterweight to prevent heavy loads from tipping a crane forward. The counterweight, however, can't be so heavy as to tip the crane backwards. In other words, it's a tricky balancing act. Crane operators consult weight charts that help them determine how much their rig can safely hoist. Of course, there are other factors to take into account at these towering heights.
It's tricky up here with the wind. With certain items you'll be picking up, and I mean, it's like a kite. The stuff will want to fly. It just takes right off.
But the sheer height and weight of cranes spell high risk. There are over 6,000 reported accidents involving cranes every year. Crane inspector Tom Barth has been investigating accidents for decades.
Dangerous. It's the most dangerous part of the construction industry, working around cranes. If the airline industry had the same safety record as the crane industry did, there wouldn't be no airplanes flying today.
The monster cranes rarely fall, but when they fall hard. It takes down millions of dollars worth of equipment, loss of property, and loss of lives.
What's going on here? In 1997, the unexpected happened. 3 men were killed when a crane collapsed at Miller Stadium in Milwaukee. This video documented the accident. Crane operators receive some training to help prevent tragic accidents like the one in Milwaukee. But that training ranges from as little as a few days to several weeks. The length is at the sole discretion of the contractor. But when it comes to safety, experience counts for a lot.
When you're in the crane, you're listening to the machine. It's talking to you. If you listen to the engine, it would tell you, I'm working hard, or you listen to creaks or cracks, because when you start picking that load, that machine will make noise, and that's what you're listening to. You get familiar with all the sounds of the crane after you've been on it for a while, and you're always listening for that one sound that shouldn't be there.
Crane operators learn to have great respect for their big rigs. Many develop something of an obsession.
This is the ultimate toy for a crane operator, okay? I know people in the crane and rigging business that have them plastered all over their walls. They have a scale model like this of every type crane there is in the entire world. I build them by hand. That's my passion. That's my pastime. When you got cranes in your blood, it's just like, well, I got to have a crane toy. It's like if you play golf, you got to have golf stuff hanging in your office, right? Well, if you're a crane man, you have to have crane stuff in your office.
When we come back, from the city to the country, how these big rigs are changing the way we farm.
It's pretty much like a big open area just to play around in a big machine.
First, I'm gonna go to my club and you can go to yours. And when I'm done playing, I'll call you and we can swim in Mickey's pool.
Oh, are you the cruise director?
Now, I have some plans later, so you'll be on your own. And do you mind having dinner alone tonight? After that, we can all see the show together.
On a magical Disney Cruise Line vacation, you're the director of your dreams.
Hey, aren't you glad I thought of this?
Call and discover uncharted magic.
Are high-interest credit card payments putting the squeeze on your lifestyle? Pay them off with a second mortgage from DieTech.com. There are absolutely no closing costs, no equity required, and you don't need a perfect credit rating. You can consolidate all your high-interest debts into one lower monthly payment. So live a little. Get a second mortgage with no closing costs from DieTech.com. Log on now for fast online approval or call us at 1-800-71-FIXED.
Well?
I asked my doctor about Lipitor.
Ask your doctor what Lipitor can do for you, or call 1-888-LIPITOR to learn more. Lipitor.
Just one tiny Claritin relieves seasonal allergy symptoms for 24 hours without making you sleepy. So if you took one in the morning, after midnight, you'd still have hours and hours of relief coming. Occurrence of side effects like headache, drowsiness, fatigue, and dry mouth is as low as with a sugar pill. Talk to your doctor about Claritin soon, during regular office hours.
I specialize in pain.
Again?
An office job can be torture. All that clicking, typing, and reaching can lead to serious injuries.
Again?
I'm Dr. Michelle Robertson, ergonomic research expert for Liberty Mutual Insurance. By studying the problems, we help design ergonomic work environments to keep your employees working comfortably.
At Liberty Mutual, we help make your business safer and more secure. It's insurance in action.
Isn't science fun?
No, this isn't a jeans commercial. It's about constipation. You're bloated, not yourself. If your size 10s feel like 2s.
FiberCon has natural fiber action to relieve bloating constipation.
I'm myself again.
FiberCon. Be regular. Be yourself.
While big rigs like tower cranes help our cities grow taller, none could ever be raised high enough to see all the vast wheat fields of the Midwest. Hundreds and hundreds of square miles stretching across 4 states. Half a century ago, thousands of farmers mounted small tractors and harvested those waves of grain 1 acre at a time. Today, there are few small farms, and bigger farms demand bigger machinery. Enter the John Deere Class 7 Combine, the world's largest combine harvester. Weather permitting, one of these combines can harvest 250 acres of wheat in a single day. That's triple what a harvester could do just a few years ago. Kent Wright is a member of a family business that has been harvesting wheat for others for over half a century.
We can harvest so much more with these combines than we could with the smaller combines. Back then you were doing, 60 to 75 acres a day.
Few machines have had as dramatic an impact on farming and agriculture as the combine harvester. In one bold stroke, the combine harvester replaced thousands of man-hours of what was once the most labor-intensive task of farming. The combine harvester combines all the elements of harvesting wheat, cutting, threshing, and separating the grain into a single machine.
The reel, which is on the front of the combine, brings the grain in across the sickle. The sickle cuts it off. It goes through the feeder house portion of the combine, through an accelerator roller, into the first part of the threshing drum. Then it goes on top of a cleaning fan. Right now we're blowing at 1,250 RPM. The wheat falls through an area called the cleaning shoe, and from the shoe it goes into an elevator which dumps into the bin, which is directly behind me.
Dusty outside, but inside there are creature comforts worthy of a Lexus, an air-conditioned cab, along with an AM/FM cassette player, keep the operator humming. It's also outfitted with computers that monitor the yield and weight of the wheat being harvested, as well as the moisture content. Too much moisture can clog the machine and bring the giant harvester to a standstill.
Oh, you want to run it like a sewing machine. When you hear odd noises, you know something's happened to it. You just got to kind of listen, pay attention, listen to the sounds. That machine talks to you. You know when something's going wrong.
Don Wright started the Wright harvesting business 52 years ago. Today, he's keeping it all in the family with his son and partner Kent and grandson Josh by his side. The family commands a virtual army of combine harvesters. 9 of those big rigs at $250,000 each fan out across the country during harvest season. From California to Nebraska to these ripe wheat fields in Kansas.
Kent bought his own combine, I guess, in 79 or 80. Then we kind of went in a partnership on it, and he's eventually he'll run the whole thing, you know.
Josh Wright drives a tractor alongside the harvesters so the big rigs can dump their grain without stopping their work.
It's pretty much like a big open area just to play around in a big machine. That's pretty much what it is.
While Josh Wright likes to listen to rap and hip-hop during the wheat harvest, most of his fellow workers prefer music from their native countries. In recent years, the men and women who harvest America's waves of grain have been recruited from abroad as local farmers and their kids increasingly choose to leave the open fields of the Midwest.
I've had people work for me from South Africa, Canada, Denmark, England this year, and a lot of Australians. we've lost a lot of the kids that grow up around farming, and their parents have moved to the city. They're doing other things, and the bigger farms are gobbling up the smaller farms. It's all still in production, but we've lost the manpower from the country. So what we have to do is re-recruit year-round, trying to hire help.
Because skilled workers are increasingly hard to find, designers of the combines are making them easier to operate, and in the process, appealing to an entirely new generation of workers.
The younger guys, the kids are better on it than I am because they're used to playing Nintendo, and they're trying to design that like a Nintendo game, I think. They've got everything on just one joystick.
Up next, child's play at any age, getting up close, real close, with the big rigs.
Thank heaven for little...
Anna's driving me crazy.
Ma chérie, it can't be that bad.
She won't eat. She won't nap. I'm telling you, Maman. No. It's her favorite word.
MCI lets you call Western Europe for just 9 cents a minute all weekend long. So calling family over there is like calling family over here.
You've never seen such a difficult child.
Oh, yes, I have.
Call 1-800-476-SAVE to sign up now and get 1 hour of free calling to anywhere in the world.
Can you promise him it will still be safe to play here in a week? A year. 20 years.
For 4 giant days only, the 21st to the 24th. It's the greatest automotive tent sale in Orange County history. 21 manufacturers, 2,000 vehicles, 1 giant location. Cars, trucks, 4x4s, minivans, new and used, every make, every model. And every vehicle will be sold at absolute rock bottom prices. Save thousands during the largest automotive inventory clearance sale ever. 4 days only, September 21st through the 24th. It's the Orange County Automotive Tent Sale. Route 17M, Dulce Avenue, just off exit 3WI-84 in Middletown.
In the past 2 years, Assemblyman Kevin Cahill has gotten real results for Ulster County families. He authored the shovel-ready law and helped expand power for jobs to help Ulster attract new businesses and create more jobs. Cahill won record increases in state aid for our local schools. He supported tough new proposals to make HMOs more accountable. And Kevin Cahill fought to expand the STAR property tax cut program to help Ulster seniors. Assemblyman Kevin Cahill, a record of results for us.
What is it about giant machines that so fascinates us? Is it the notion that might makes right? Or simply that if big is good, bigger is great, then biggest must be best? Well, first consider the bulldozer, a machine named for a human trait. To bulldoze meant to bully or intimidate a person to get one's way. Caterpillar's D11, the largest bulldozer made in the United States, can do that. Or just about anything else it wants. With its 22-foot wide blade, the D11 bulldozer stretches to nearly 30 feet in length. It's an effective warning sign for the brute force it's packing behind it. A 770 horsepower V8 engine pushes the machine forward, about the equivalent of 800 horses pulling a plow, a long way from the harness rigs at the turn of the century. Over 600 square feet of steel track allow the bulldozer to conquer just about any terrain. Like a graceful ballet dancer, however, the 215,000-pound bulldozer barely leaves a mark. The ground force of this giant machine is about the same as a 200-pound man standing on tiptoes. Inside the cab, an operator works with featherweight controls. There is nothing subtle, however, about the ripper attached to the rear of the D11. It tears 7 feet into the ground with 185 tons of pulling power behind it. Bulldozers are commonplace on most construction sites, and nowhere is that more true than in Boston, the home of the largest construction project ever undertaken. A series of roads, tunnels, and bridges are being built in the middle of downtown, while the city tries to carry on as usual. Boston has dubbed their project the Big Dig.
All right, folks, we're standing on the south main span of the Charles River Crossing Bridge, the Cable Stay Bridge.
When complete, the Big Dig will add 161 lane miles of highway to downtown Boston, nearly half of it in the form of tunnels. Thousands of trucks and shovels are busy making room for all that roadway. Meanwhile, above ground, nearly 150 cranes are in use citywide, lifting tons of steel and concrete every day. Not surprisingly, a project as huge as the Big Dig has had a hefty share of detractors. Many complain that the Big Dig is a big waste of taxpayer money. But no one anticipated the overwhelming interest of citizens who were merely curious about all these trucks, dozers, cranes, and shovels, how they worked, and how they were changing the city almost in front of their eyes.
That crane's got a little ways to go. He's going to be lifted up eventually.
So the Big Dig decided to offer official tours of the site, and they were more surprised than anyone at the response.
We opened it up, and we had an announcement in the local newspapers here. We said, call up the Big Dig. We'll be happy to take the first 10 people on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Scheduled, and we assumed probably take a month or two for people to, within 2 days. It sold out for 2 years.
We're going out of the way over here.
Why were so many people so eager to sign up for a tour of a construction site years in advance? What's the draw? What's the fascination?
Just the view itself, when you drive up from 90, the whole sky is full of like 50 or 60 cranes.
It's an engineering marvel, I think, and it's going to be beautiful when it's done.
We got steel all over the place, concrete, machinery being squeezed in and squeezed out that are, 100 times bigger than I am. You feel part of something bigger, you feel part of something great.
Do big rigs and the work they do make us feel more powerful, bigger than we are? Whatever the answer, we do know that our fascination with big rigs begins, for boys at least, almost before they can speak. Here at Tonka's Fun Lab, experts study kids playing with toys. Researchers sit unobserved behind a two-way mirror and try to understand just what it is kids like about their trucks, bulldozers, and other toys. Video monitors track every child's movement, looking for a clue. Company research shows that boys as well as girls get their hands on their first Tonka truck as early as 18 months of age. Fun Lab's director, Maria Silvera, has been watching boys play for over a decade.
These boys made a gravel pit, and just their focus on picking up those rocks and dumping it into the bucket, that whole concentration, they're oblivious to everything around them, the noise level around them. They're just concentrating on making sure all the rocks that's in that gravel pit is going to go in the bucket and then be transported elsewhere. It's, you know, that concentration is what I see that's very similar with the big guys versus the little guys. And just the excitement of being able to control levers and move the truck where you want it to go.
That excitement, as we've seen, can last a lifetime. But will the big rigs of the future continue to fascinate? If the past offers any clue, there is no end to our compulsion to watch giant machines that dig, haul, cut, and thresh the world around us. Ever since workers carried stones on their back to build the Great Pyramids of Egypt, man has been eager to create machines that could do the heavy lifting. While designs have improved over the centuries, in the last few years they have defied one's imagination as they help us shape and reshape our world at faster rates than any time in history. That's this edition of MSNBC Investigates. Thank you for watching. I'm Lester Holt.
The big USA-Australia softball rivalry is renewed. Plus the Williams sisters' Olympic doubles debut. The Olympics tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern on MSNBC.
His bad boy image landed him die-hard roles.
I'd been smirky and, wisecracking for so long.
But he became a real Hollywood hero with a sixth sense about taking on more serious scripts. What turned this tough guy into a sensitive character?
I was pretty selfish, and having kids just turns that completely around.
A look into his high-profile relationships and his most rewarding role, Dad. The life lessons that helped shape Bruce Willis on Headliners and Legends. Tomorrow at 10 on MSNBC.
MSNBC, the whole picture.
CNBC Weekends get wild. National Geographic Explorer, now on CNBC Weekends. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. National Geographic Explorer, Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights at 8, only on CNBC Weekends.
You ever look up the word right in the dictionary? One definition is politically conservative, but right also means morally good, honest, truthful. Someone in their right mind is thinking clearly. Right is correct. What's left to say? Plenty.
Right, left. Get both sides of the day's biggest issues on Equal Time with Ollie North and Paul Bagala. Weeknights 6:30 Eastern on MSNBC.
Mark? Ollie, it must kill you to be a lefty. Like our president.
Ooh.
Tired of constant demands for new technology? Fortunately, there's CDW, the industry's leading direct solutions provider, where a dedicated account manager uses the buying power of a Fortune 1000 company to custom configure solutions to your needs. CDW makes technology easy, so you're free to enjoy the rest of your day. CDW, computing solutions built for business.
Expedia.com, the travel website, would like to remind you that our name is in fact Expedia.com. That's Expedia.com. You'll find all the travel solutions you need to book the right trip at the right price. Of course, you can't very well visit Expedia.com if you can't remember the name. Expedia.com. So remember, Expedia.com is the only travel website on the entire internet named Expedia.com. Don't just travel, travel right. That's Expedia.com.
MSNBC, more than meets the eye.